So while we're wrapping up, we did have a winning table. There are some fighters over there. So the point of this, of course, is a bit of an icebreaker. It's also a little bit of an awareness. We're talking about this. We're going to make this very real. We're not just going to talk about, this leadership is a great thing. We're going to put this into action, and we're going to make this happen. Your AGM is basically your deadline for when that report has to be put together by. And we're going to be there to give you resources and help you along with that way. But we want to be able to have that tangible output and that tangible feedback in the system. So if there are questions in there, it's an icebreaker. It's awareness for yourself on your sport. If there are aspects of it that you weren't able to answer, Google it, call a friend, but get that back to us because we'll be using that through the weekend in the other activities that we have planned. Transition to the next session. The next session is on social media, athlete branding and sponsorship. Kevin Jagger is a former investment banker turned nationally ranked long track speed skater. Outside the oval, Kevin has built up a strong following and sponsorship base, leveraging his highly engaged blog, longtracklongshot.com, and other social media platforms. Kevin's a frequent speaker to Canadian athletes, such as ourselves, coaches and federations, on brand building and how to fund an athletic journey, something that we can all relate to and that I'm really looking forward to hearing about. Please welcome Kevin. Awesome. Thanks.
Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. So my name is Kevin Jagger, and thank you very much to Athletes Can for having me here. I have not been overly familiar with the organization other than periodic conversations here and there over the last couple of years, so that was very nice to kind of sit through and hear that. And there was two quick things I just wanted to touch on that I think is, I guess this is live too, that I think is relevant to kind of what I'm going to be touching on. And the first thing was talking about the increased funding to top 4 in the world. And while that's obviously, the should be part of kind of a greater shift to just generally more funding, something that I'm hoping to kind of share with you is obviously the flip side of that. That's a case of, you've got there. What about the funding to get you to top 4 in Canada, let alone top 4 in the world? And something that I talk about is funding is a fuel. So to use an example, I talk, you got to focus on sponsorship, and a lot of athletes are like, I don't have time for sponsorship, too busy training, don't have time to deal with it. It's just not my concern, I'm too busy. And the equivalent is saying, you're driving, you're going for a road trip, driving out to Vancouver from Calgary, and someone's, your passenger seat saying, we gotta stop for gas, You're like, we don't have time for gas. We gotta keep going, make a great time, we gotta keep going. It's true up until it's not, and you've run out of time. So think of, funding is a fuel. It will give you the runway. So the other thing is what's great about this organization and you guys in the room is I've been a newcomer to sport, and I've sat and listened to kind of complaints and underfunding and this changed the NSO, and just they're sitting on the couch playing Call of Duty, whining about it, and no one's doing it. No one's if the same athlete had a tweak in their knee, next day in meeting the top physio to get that knee fixed, they're meeting with top nutritionists, and they're letting something like sponsorship or the way their organization is run be kind of left, and it's an afterthought. It's not a top priority. So it's great to see you guys here taking the initiative, taking that as a top priority. So what I just want to go through is quickly what I'm going to be speaking on, and my story, which will not be the focus of the talk. The idea there is simply to frame it and to frame kind of my experiences and again where I'm coming from and how my kind of sponsorship came about. Again, this is all very new to me. How I went about building a sponsorship platform, again, as a just outside the top 4 in the world. And so I had to manufacture an audience. So I am very far off existing platforms. And again, when I started, and something I'll touch on later, a lot of people were like, oh, that's so great, you're new to the sport, you should try, own the podium or something, that'd be great for you. It's like, this is so far not directed towards something I'm trying to accomplish. And I thought I wanted to build my own platform, build something completely separate. So I'll touch on that. And again, these are things that are anybody has access to. Largely social media, largely blogging, but as well as a healthy combination of online engagement as well as driving kind of offline interaction and getting out there and meeting with people, kind of all walks of life. Why storytelling is important. I'll touch on kind of a lot of people, you wait for the results. When you get the results, the sponsorships will come. As soon as you get that gold medal, you just sit by your phone, the phone will ring off the hook. It's not always the case. Building your athlete brand, just kind of taking steps, and I've shared a couple of athletes that I think do a really good job of this, and they couldn't actually be more opposite. So to kind of create the idea that really anyone has a story, and if you think you don't have a story, you're just not taking time to answer the question properly and kind of really thinking about it. And then go through a couple case studies. So a lot of athletes know, you need social media for sponsorship, but making that connection, honestly, a lot of businesses have a hard time with this. So I've put together just a couple case studies that really show you how things like a like or a follow or a subscriber translates to dollars in your pocket. So hopefully you kind of get some ideas from there, and that's where we're going to kind of get started. So for me, I grew up playing football. I played out in Vancouver, was fortunate enough to get a football scholarship to Montreal's McGill University. At McGill, I started to meet with people, outside of sports. So up until that point, my athletic career and my academic career were identical. That sport fortunately lends itself to the next step is school. So you don't need to think, I didn't need to make a decision at 16 whether I wanted to kind of choose sport or school. But it was there that I started to meet with more and more people, and they were talking about life after school. And all of a sudden, they're talking about things that, I'm starting to have to make a decision. And being in the commerce program, a lot of the kind of the top graduates were going on to becoming an investment banker. So I looked into it and thought, I think that's what I want to do, and I need to kind of shift my focus away from football, get my grades up, and get a job in banking. So when I graduated, I got a job at Citigroup and worked there for 3.5 years. And it's pretty much the classic story of whatever maybe you think. I don't know if you know what an investment banker is. I didn't when I got the job. I worked 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, not a joke, 100 hours a week, missed every Christmas, anniversary, anything with my girlfriend. I wouldn't see her for weeks, and we lived in the same place. So I was, headed to just not happy. I mean, I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I did what I was supposed to do. Go to school, get a good job, work hard, make lots of money, everything should be great, and it just wasn't the case. So I was now working for a media company. I was back in Vancouver watching the games, and kind of the athletes did what, that's what this whole thing is all set up, is to inspire people. And I watched the games, and I thought, I'm now 25. I haven't done anything for 6 years. Football was, sports were such a huge part of my life. How did I just drop that to get a head start on being an adult, to get a head start on what I'm going to do for the next 40 years? So I started to think, I can't believe that. I'm still young. I can do something. I'm about 55 pounds above what I was playing at. The daily trips to McDonald's is starting to take their toll. So I kind of talked to my girlfriend and started to kind of think, I think I want to do something. I think I want to break out of this. So I did, what you do anytime you have a life-altering decision. Went to Wikipedia and printed off the list of winter sports. So I thought, I got to find, I can find something here. And if I didn't know what I wanted to do, I could at least figure out what I didn't want to do. So, I don't presume that, Stevie Y is going to pencil me in for Team Canada for hockey. So I started with, outside of team sports. I don't think team sports is going to work. I'm too far outside the existing system. And the idea was, I want to train full-time and see if I gave myself kind of a 4-year window, what could I do? How far could I go in a sport? So I decided nothing judged. The reason for nothing judged, in case there's people here who judge sports, is that I just didn't think I'd have the time to get the kind of the subtle nuances required in a 4-year span. I needed something that was maybe more like football, that was hopefully just grunted out. I lived in Vancouver, and so the idea of moving up to Whistler, maybe just fit the mold of a quarter-life crisis just too well, that I was going to bomb up to the mountain and ski all day. So I looked at a couple of sports and decided basically on speed skating. And after looking at long track and short track, I was told that I was about seven years too old and about 70 pounds too heavy for short track. So long track it was. So I quit my job and started training full-time, committed to losing some weight. And I'd never touched speed skating. I'd never been to an oval. I'd never put on speed skates. And I didn't get to for 5 more months because, as you can see, this is a pretty robust due diligence process. So I missed that the Vancouver Oval was going to be converted to a rec center. So I now needed to do a sport that I'd never done before, and the facility to do that was in a city I did not live in. So after kind of going out to Calgary, I committed to getting a coach full-time and losing some weight, lost about 40 pounds that summer, flew out to Calgary a few times, eventually got on the ice, and after kind of getting through the catch-22 of can't get on the ice without a time standard and can't do it, you don't get a time standard if you can't get on the ice. Kind of getting through that, I eventually got a chance, was accepted into the Oval program out in Calgary and moved out there full-time, and I've been there for 3 seasons, 3 years, and now I was just about to start my 4th season. So starting on day one, again, not only was I giving up my salary, but I was taking up something that was going to cost me $40,000 a year. So by 4 years, and again, the reason for that is in the beginning, I needed a one-on-one coach. I wasn't going to join a team. I needed a one-on-one trainer to get back in shape. So I needed some sort of plan, and I genuinely did not know where to start. I thought, I can put a logo on a speed suit, and that's what you do, right? It's like NASCAR. So I would find out later that not only does that not work for someone starting, it's also very difficult for someone even at the top of the sport. And again, a lot of my examples will be from speed skating, where we don't compete in front of a ton of people, even domestically. So when we're competing in front of 25, 30,000 people, I shouldn't say we, when the national team is competing, it's still not a huge sales pitch to a domestic sponsor. Rogers or Bell, they don't have clients in the Netherlands, so they don't care that there's 1 million people there. So you need to manufacture your audience. And I've been able to kind of do that, and largely, again, through social media. And this isn't a case of where I had a plan. I came in here. I came from a company where we weren't allowed on Facebook. I had no idea what a blog was. The reason the blog came about is my coach was sending video back and forth to me after our first couple days, and it started to get to the point where the videos were long enough that it was blowing up our email. So I just couldn't send the files back and forth. So my brother suggested, why don't you host it on a blog, then you could post the videos, and then you two can comment back and forth. This is great. So I got kevinjagger.wordpress.com or whatever, posted the videos, and then my coach and I would kind of go back talking about technique, and each day we'd keep doing that. And at one point, my father walked by and saw what I was working on and saw the video from the day, and I'm sure he was slightly curious as to what I'd been up to for the past few weeks. So he said, hey, can you fire me the password for the site? I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I sent it to him, started poking around the back of the WordPress, and then over the next few weeks, I'm starting to see that the site views are going up and up and up and up. My father had sent it to my brothers, who had sent it to all my old colleagues, who had sent it to my buddies, my high school, my old football teammates, and they were all starting to follow it. And I kind of thought, I was like, I can't believe they even care, and I can't believe they're interested in this. So I thought, why don't I create something that's a little bit better, a little bit more kind of professional? So I sat down and came up with Long Track, Long Shot. Just the idea of something consistent with my brand. I didn't like the idea of everyone presumes you're a future Olympian. And my nephew that was born a few weeks ago is a future Olympian. It's not it's an earned title, not just because you haven't got there yet, it's not future. So I wanted to separate myself from that and say, very aware of the kind of the odds and what I'm trying to tackle. I'm trying to tackle something different. I'm trying to tackle a different objective. My goal is to try something new, and I will share video and posts and tweets and every day along the way. And the idea that I'll kind of let you in on how the other side of these top sports, and sports you see only every 4 years, how they live. So a lot of it, for me, was a struggle. And so some things came easy. I was able to get back in the gym, squat 400 pounds, post a video, feel good about yourself. The next day, I'm losing a beep test to a 14-year-old girl. So these are things that are starting to make people kind of understand
how this journey is going to go, that it's not going to be easy and not going to be a home run, and people really started to kind of connect with it and start to follow along. So from there, it led to Facebook and Twitter. And again, what I want to go over today is, I don't want to get into like the specifics of these platforms. I'm here for the weekend, so if there is something that triggers or you want to expand a little bit further, just grab me while I'm here. Happy to chat about it. But just the idea here is that I treat the blog as the home base, and everything else is kind of the hub around it. From there, things got forwarded along, and I got media requests. Each media request, each media interview would lead to more and more and more. So starting to get local, regional, national, and then international coverage. Getting coverage through Europe and through the Netherlands, following the blog. And all along the way, my blog. So I never put together a package. I now had a site that was ranking among the top in Canada, receiving blog awards for sports blogs, and starting to get extremely high traffic for anything related to speed skating. So this I love, because part of that whole following was not only were random people following along, but kind of a reporter was following along. As you guys can all attest to, this isn't much of a story. You guys don't break the top, like when you crack the top 70 in your sport, it doesn't make CBC the national. It's a non-story. It's funny, in my other talk, I have this as like a crowning achievement. And for here, I'm supposed to kind of show that you're in control. You have kind of the power to create, that you're not at the kind of at the mercy of local people, local reporters to get your story out. You can control it and craft the story and curate it so that not only are random people like my Aunt Mary following, but reporters are following along to the point where when they saw I cracked top 70, they thought that was newsworthy. So the idea is, why does all this stuff matter? Why does a blog subscriber, what is a like, what is a view, what is a share, why does that, I shouldn't say share. So why does all of that matter? How does that equal sponsorship? I'm not seeing the connection from A to B. The idea is kind of a simple funnel, and this is any like customer acquisition. The bigger the top, and you want to funnel it down. So the top, you have all those things I mentioned. The difference between a fan, or the kind of the likes, followers, views, and a supporter is, using a Facebook example, very simple. Someone watches a video on my fan page, that's a fan. Someone shares that video on their page, that's a supporter. That's someone that's willing to act as, tell their buddies, tell their friends about you. So they're expanding your network by leveraging theirs. And so are you creating content that's interesting for people beyond your end? Is it interesting for a stranger to see it and then share it? Is it relevant? So a lot of times, again, that's why I think the blog is so key, especially for me. When I post a video of me racing, it just looks like some guy that's probably ranked about 70th skating. Whereas with the story behind it and how that video looked 6 months ago and how the technique has changed and how the power has changed and all these things, that's why I like to house everything in the blog, because you can share so much more and then link out to it through social media. For my particular case, I don't feel I can kind of get the story across in 140 characters so that it is relevant, so that people are sharing it, not just viewing it. And again, the bottom part, all three of these levels are key. You don't sacrifice one for the other. Just the way the math works out is you have your sponsors at the bottom. So it doesn't matter if the ratio is 100 to 1, top to bottom, or 1,000 to 1. The idea is the more you have at the top, the better your chance you have more at the bottom. So the more you're out there, the more you're engaging with friends and followers and strangers online, interacting with kind of key hashtags, events. These seem like all these small little things that really add up. And the analogy that I use when I'm speaking to an athlete that kind of wants to find out, they sit down for coffee and they want to find out, okay, how do I get sponsored? And I'll say these little kind of things like, how did you choose your title for your blog post? Did you involve others? Is it relevant for others to share your content? Are you active on Twitter? Are you replying to people that are messaging you? And you kind of see their face, and they're like kind of disappointed, being like, I was kind of hoping for like a golden nugget to like get started tomorrow. And it's the same as when I got started. Imagine me sitting down and saying, hey, I want to become a top speed skater. And someone be like, yeah, okay, overhaul your sleep, overhaul your nutrition, lose a bunch of weight, start showing up to the Oval twice a day. You're probably going to need to move to Calgary. All these things, and then being like, kind of hoping, like, how do I crank this out by the end of the weekend? Like, it just doesn't work. Neither one, if it was easy, everyone would have it and the market would be completely saturated. And I had an opportunity to see that. I found that development level athletes didn't think they had a story and didn't think they had enough to share and didn't want to post. And then I found that top level athletes kind of thought they were too good for it and they were above it and they're maybe waiting, Red Bull or Nike will just call, and when they call, they'll do it. And so you sit there and it's this standoff, and there's a tremendous opportunity to share. This is stuff, again, that I'm a close example. I see these sports, a lot of these sports, every 4 years. And I became fascinated with speed skating, with slide board, with all these different types of training, hill sprints. And these are things that are totally normal to another speed skater. But I was sitting down and writing a blog, be like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. You build this slide board, went to Home Depot, put this whole thing together for 50 bucks. And people really, and that continues to be the #1 blog post on my site, is how to build a slide board. So it's like this step-by-step that literally receives thousands and thousands of views a month. And it's just a step-by-step. I went to Home Depot, built this thing, thought I'd share how to do it. So tons of hockey players, tons of guys from literally all over the world have built these slide boards. So here's kind of the top of the funnel. Again, these are all more the softer parts of all this stuff. And then this is the bottom of the funnel. These are the kind of businesses that either reached out or there was a mutually beneficial partnership. And again, I'll get into a couple of examples later. But these businesses reached out and very early on supported me and committed to a 4-year deal. So kind of before I even got really started, I was funded. I didn't need to worry about my funding. I didn't need to worry about moving away from my girlfriend, who quickly became fiance and then wife. I didn't need to kind of worry that not only was I being a little crazy personally and doing this to myself, but also kind of being fiscally irresponsible. And I saw that there was a genuine opportunity here, and so that's kind of what resulted. So the first step, or the first thing, and again, I want to. A lot of people in this room are successful online. I've seen many of you, and so this is kind of an overarching theme: is that some athletes just, again, don't feel, I don't even know how much to ask for when it comes to a sponsor. So it's like this black box, because athletes that are successful in sponsorship don't tell anyone what the numbers are, so no one knows what to do. So if you don't know what price to sell something for, why would you bother getting into a meeting? Why would you put together a sponsor kit? So it kind of kills the whole life cycle of getting that sponsorship, because you just don't know, such a hard thing to put a value on it. So the first thing I say is outwork a park bench, outwork a bus bench. You look around the city, anywhere around the city, some realtor has sponsored or put their phone number on a bus bench. That bus bench sits there and they're paying $300 and whatever bucks a month to do it. So you've got to believe you add more value than an inanimate bench. And if you don't, again, you're not taking yourself seriously enough. Are you worth more than a bench? If you are, you're over $3,000. So that's your baseline package. That will be an annual package. That's just a good place to start. So again, for some of you guys, that might be 20, 25, 50 grand. It might be 1,500. It doesn't matter. Warren Buffett says about insurance, there's no such thing as bad insurance. There's just bad pricing. There's no such thing as bad sponsorship. There's bad pricing. If I signed a $100,000 deal, that would weigh over me every single day that I'd kind of dupe someone. I certainly would not worth that. Whereas if I structure a deal that both parties are happy, and you always want to underpromise, overdeliver, and the idea is I'm much more interested in renewing a sponsorship than kind of grabbing that extra little bit in the beginning. So you want to have a long career. You want to build that runway. You want funding as a fuel. You want to make sure that tank is full. And building partnerships, it's easier to kind of retain sponsors than it is to go and get a new one. So I'll touch on some of these more in the case studies, but these are just ideas of kind of taking some things offline. So one thing in the top right-hand corner is with my sponsors, I gave them kind of a small little thing. We had a reception at the end of the year. I give them an update. Kind of, it's honestly like an AGM. I give them an update how the season went, what the new goals are for the year, how anything has changed in my costing for the year, and then it's an engraved Scotch glass that had my season's best times in it. And like any like when we were collecting things from McDonald's, you kind of want the next one. You want to see what the next the next times are going to be on the Scotch glasses. So you can get these Scotch glasses that kind of count down in times. The other important part of that was I wanted my sponsors all in the same room. So I wanted everyone to kind of come out for dinner and see each other and just be, we're in this kind of together and as a team, and from there would we start to chat about the renewal for next year. So you want to have more frequent conversations with a sponsor more than once a year, and then you don't contact them 12 more months when you send them the mailing address for the next check. There needs to be more engagement. So why is this important? What does this matter? Once I get my results, I'll be fine. I'll be totally taken care of. So just do your thing, focus on your sport. And for some athletes, it's fine. It's just a combination of kind of complaining about funding and then not doing anything about it doesn't match. If you are focused on your sport and you're doing your thing, you apply for your bursaries, apply for your sport funding, but outside of the sponsorship thing, it's, what value are you creating for a potential sponsor? So 2 quick stories that just speak to why storytelling is important, why you should own your story. Is Claire Hughes. We're sitting on the bikes after ice one morning, and SportsCenter comes on and says that Claire Hughes just came 5th at UCI World Road Cycling Championships, and then they mention that and they go on to the next story. So she wasn't the top Canadian finisher. Tara Whitten came 4th, and Tara did what, I don't know if Tara's here, but Tara did what she needed to do, right? She trained, she got the results, top Canadian finisher, and she wasn't mentioned at the SportsCenter. So it's out of her control. They went with the Clara Hughes story. So that's why you need to take ownership. The other one is Brittany is a 2-time Olympian, 2-time world champion, world record holder, speed skater. So she mentioned, or she wanted to go for coffee and kind of chat about me maybe working with her for her running her sponsorship, kind of like an agent. So I said, why? Like, why did you want to do this? And her story was interesting, saying, coming from female speed skating and then female speed skating, Canada has not only some of the best in the world, some of them are the best of all time. So she told a story where she was on the World Cup and had, kind of a great race, so top Canadian female finisher, and was finally excited that, after years of Clara Hughes, Christina Groves, Christine Nesbitt, Cindy Clausen, she was going to kind of get a chance to get the big mention. She was the top finisher from that event, and comes back home and it's Nesbitt Groves missed podium. So again, you don't have control of the story. They went with them underperforming for one event. They dominated that whole season. But again, you did all the right things. You worked hard, trained hard, and it was taken away from you because you don't control the way the story is told. So we did sit down with Britt, and again, speaking on kind of the black box of sponsorship, it was uncomfortable about, again, we top Canadian speed skaters on the national team have 1 spot. I don't know how the federations work. Some of you guys will have 1 spot, 2 spot. Some of you might have a bounty where you pay kind of 15% back and you've got more spots. I think some of the skiing sports are like that. She has 1. So it's like having a store that has 1 product. You cannot sell it to the first guy that walks in that offers you anything, because you're done. Then you're closed for the year. So we thought about, let's maybe add a couple more products. Let's get kind of not morale up, but confidence up in your offering. So we turned to social media. So what that thing is in the top right is a Facebook cover that was basically by month. So each month we changed it, and we sold, you could sponsor her fan page for a month. So the fan page was powered by whoever, and it gave the key dates of what she was up to that month. You also see in the Twitter, we started put the logos down of her sponsors in her Twitter background, brand, and then it eventually led to the spot on the suit. So we started with something easy, something kind of simple to get some yeses in the door, build some relationships, and again, come next year, which was this year, we renewed them all for each month and resold the month and built our way up to having a full sponsor. Another thing that I'll mention that we learned from this is you're allowed 1 spot, but she has 2 suits. So we sold 2 sponsors. And again, this was something that we got pushback from, but they couldn't find a valid defense in the athlete agreement. So we sold 2 sponsors on 2 separate suits. The sponsors were fully aware of it. So that's something for you guys to think about, that if you do have multiple suits, sell different sponsors on different suits. So we sold that, every time she races the 1500, she's in this sponsor's suit. Every time she races the 3K, she's in this one. And then that's now something we're starting to do with more athletes. So we're starting to double, triple, quadruple the number of kind of products in your store. And again, that really is an important thing when you're so limited. You never want to ask, and you want to kind of have varying things. You don't sell, no restaurant sells one bottle of wine for one price. You have low and high, and you hope to sell in the middle. So you want to be able to have kind of this big offering, and then gives you a chance to meet with sponsors. You know, is it your kind of neighbors who owns a tow truck company and really wants to support you, and you're unsure of what to ask for? You never want to ask someone that was going to give you 10 grand for 100, and you don't want to ask someone that was going to give you $100 for 10 grand. So this gives you kind of a way to present the offering and allow them to choose. Again, that's something, if you guys want to talk about sponsorship kits, more than happy to chat about that. And there's, you know, a lot of your fellow athletes have phenomenal examples of that. On the branding side, I'll just be quick with 2 quick examples. I'm not huge into MMA, but I love this. George St. Pierre, basically recognizing early on that he was showing up to press conferences and weigh-ins, and the guys were showing up with no shirt on, hoodies with no shirt underneath, and just seeing kind of an opportunity here saying, you know, how are these guys, how are we going to take this to a mainstream sport? How are we going to get Nike, Under Armour, Gatorade, and I should say Gatorade and Under Armour are his sponsors now. How are we going to get them on board? We look like bumps. So he thought, you know, I am as fierce as they come in the octagon. I don't need to be kind of an idiot and tough outside of it. So he showed up for his press conferences in suits, and he got a very hard time for it and didn't care, and said, this is my brand. I'm totally separating myself, clean cut, and he's trying to reduce the stigma around the sport, that it's just a bunch of hooligans. So he's trying to say, yes, for the time you need me to be kind of crazy and hooligan, I am, absolutely. Like, I'm not soft, but outside of it, I know how to kind of represent your brand. And again, it's all about that consistency. So the flip side of that is that kind of don't be crazy unless crazy is your brand. If you're, Dennis Rodman was crazy, and he was predictable, even if it was predictably unpredictable. So to give you an idea of how this worked, I mean, Rodman was an NBA champion. I don't know if you guys know who Dennis Rodman is. So he's an NBA player who kind of used to dye his hair different every game, played for a few teams. He's kind of known as kind of like a badass. And he played that up. He was clean cut in Detroit, NBA Defensive Player of the Year, rebounding champion, NBA champion. He did all those same things in Chicago, if not a little bit less, kind of underperforming where he was in Detroit. But all of a sudden, everybody knew who he was. And so his salary goes from $2 million, now he's making $9 million in Chicago. So again, that's not something we face. We're not dealing with these types of agreements, but it's just the idea that anything works. It doesn't matter what you choose. Everybody being clean cut and wholesome, if everybody's doing it, it's not remarkable. It's just whatever you decide and whatever you truly believe is you, and there's a number of Canadian athletes who have done well having kind of an edgier image. But it's the sponsor, there's no surprises. They don't show up one day with a massive sleeve tattoo that they've never had a tattoo before, or something along those lines. The idea is extremely consistent, and it allows you to kind of build these partnerships. And the example I was saying earlier is the scandal with Tiger Woods. It was even made worse about how surprising it was and how it kind of took everybody, and you almost feel kind of robbed about it, that it wasn't what you thought. But if the same scandal happened with John Daly, it maybe would have been more, of course, that was kind of the next thing to come. I'm not saying one's better than the other. It's just the idea that you want to be consistent. So here I'll go through three quick case studies. And again, the idea is these are why these things are important. And you can accomplish a number of things with the same, with the same kind of campaign. So when we do a fundraising effort, I have a number of goals when we sit down to kind of accomplish them, whether it's me personally or me with my team. And the idea is you want to make money, you want to expose new people to kind of your brand, and more importantly, you want to collect them. You want a way to keep them. How do they? The example I use is a golf ball machine. So as the golf ball machine is going, picking up the balls at the driving range, it's just adding 1 or 2 at a time. That's fine. And by the end, it's picked them all up. The key thing is that it's not losing 1 or 2, and more importantly, when it does lose 1 or 2, it doesn't turn around to go get them back. So if you lose a fan on your fan page, don't freak out and try and change things just focus with the 99.9 that stayed there. Focus on creating content that they're wanting to be with. If you're starting to lose a lot, like the ball machine might be broken. If it's just all going through, there might be a problem. You might need to stop and reassess things. But the idea is you want to just keep collecting. And as your career progresses, you're getting a bigger and bigger platform. And you'll be amazed that, again, outside of simply having bigger accounts, you'll be amazed at the opportunities that come out of these accounts. And I mean, me here kind of today speaking is an example of how these conversations get started. There's conversations about you happening in rooms where you're not present. So you want to have an idea of what are they talking about? How are you on the tip of the what conversations do you want to be on the tip of people's tongue? And when they mention that, it's you. They want you. So there's 3 quick examples, and I'm sticking these cases are fundraising examples, and they've led to sponsorship. But I think fundraising, again, is kind of a great equalizer. There's endorsement, sponsorship, fundraising, donation. Donation, I don't think, you want. We're not curing cancer. We're, you're athletes. You have an offer. You want to focus on creating value for people that support you. And then fundraising and crowdfunding are phenomenal opportunities, and sponsorship. Those are kind of the 2 I'm going to focus on. And then again, above that is kind of endorsement, which is more kind of pro-athlete deals. So each one of these cases face a significant problem. The first one is selling T-shirts. I don't know, has anyone here sold T-shirts as a fundraiser? Nice, okay, it's a classic. Unfortunately, you cannot sell it based on utility. I can't sell you a T-shirt because it's going to protect you from the sun, because you're not selling it based on its purpose, its use. The flip side of that is rarely do you try and sell someone a T-shirt like, no, actually I'm good, I got one, thank you. So you're not selling it based on that. So what else are you selling on? You're selling it on something that has nothing to do with the T-shirt. It's a feeling they get, it's a saying, it's a logo, it's a clever design, it's whatever it is, but it's beyond the purpose of the shirt. So you can't sell it based on utility. So these are an example of my, sorry, I'll try and, I don't want to dip into the hospitality room for you guys. So I'm selling T-shirts very early on, and a phrase that I put on the back of my shirt is a phrase that my first sponsor has in their monitoring room. It says, use all the buffalo. And it's a saying I really, really enjoyed and liked and kind of attached myself to. It's the idea that nothing wasted, everything on purpose. So I couldn't just say, you know what, I'm going to the gym at 4 o'clock. This is when I'm getting started. I mean, it's relevant today. Can't say, you know what, I'm going to the gym at 4 o'clock, so I'll bang it out 4 to 6, be super intense, and then go to McDonald's. I'll probably hang out late. So it's the idea that everything matters. Every decision matters. You need to be focused, whether it's for yoga, where you guys are here, you're focused on every single element. That's really what makes you the top athletes that you are, the attention to detail, and again, nothing wasted, everything on purpose. So that was use all the buffalo. So I thought, consistent with that and consistent with the brand I'm trying to create, what if I did away with delivery of the T-shirts and I biked them to everybody? I'd get my training in, I'd save $3 a shirt, and more importantly, I get to meet the people that are supporting me. And again, if someone's going to give you $25, how do you add that golf ball to your cart? How do you keep them? Because that might be someone that has vested early on, and maybe they'll probably hang on to the fan page. They'll if they care that much, they'll follow along on Twitter, they'll follow along the blog, and they'll help me build up this base. So the other part of it too is people wanted to mess with me. So they're ordering, my brother was sending out the link, and they're ordering T-shirts from all over the Lower Mainland, making me bike 80 kilometers to deliver one T-shirt. So whatever it was, I didn't matter. I needed to kind of get it off the ground and start selling them. So once I met with people, I asked, can I grab your photo? I'm going to post it up onto the fan page into kind of a Team Provident photos around the world. And so people were like, of course, man, no problem. So we started creating this page, and then people started seeing, where they were. They started sending me photos of them on a trip in the shirt. The album kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and people were all over the place. Every time a new photo was up, I'd put a link to my website, link to the T-shirts of where they could buy more. They were tagged. So again, it's that idea of separating people from being just fans to being supporters, because now I'm leveraging their network where they have no idea what I'm kind of doing or what I'm about. So now they're bringing in people for me. Ended up selling over $20,000 worth of T-shirts. So, over just under 600 T-shirts, it's very difficult to give away that many T-shirts, let alone to sell them. And so those were a kind of continual renewal. I mean, there was a nice burst in the beginning, and I continue to kind of get orders to this day. And the idea is just throwing them in there, and people will send me an order saying that they're going on a trip. So they're buying it specifically to send me back a photo to add it to the album. So the next one, and this is something we all face, is engagement. So the first issue, or the first kind of problem, is utility. The second issue is engagement. I'm training, I'm doing lots, but like, who cares? Who cares about my video in the gym of me lifting or doing cleans? Again, someone will maybe watch it, but who's going to share it? Who's going to share it with their friends? So one element of my training that kind of started early on was hill sprints. So it became kind of a weekly thing, and for my first set of hill sprints, I'd never done them before, and I just read kind of 12 by 8-second hill sprints. And so I was worried that I was going to start to get tired, and I hadn't done this before, and I was going to kind of maybe not get out everything that I wanted out of this. So I called my buddy that was in university as a sprinter, and I called my brother and said, can you guys show up to this hill? I need you guys to alternate turns, so I always have someone that's fresh to kind of go against, so I want to keep going. So they come out, we do it. That was the first session, and then I filmed and had photos, or had my coach take film and video of everything, posted it up to YouTube, and a crazy thing happened. They share the video because they're in it. And so all of a sudden I'm getting this engagement that I was worried about and trying to figure out, and you just need to add people to it, and they share it. So I created something called Hill Sprints Club. And the idea with Hill Sprints Club is the number one rule, you've got to talk about Hill Sprints Club. So ran everything through Facebook event, ran it through Twitter on hashtag Hill Sprints Club, and sure enough, our group of kind of 5, 6, 7 ended up going to 30, and this is 2 o'clock on a Wednesday. So I don't know what jobs these people have, but they're all coming out, they're seeing half the group in Team Provident t-shirts, the new people are buying, I'm showing up for some of them, and people are telling me they're like, buddy, John runs this. I'm like, what? Who's John? And I'm like, this is my training. How did you? So I don't even know how these people are getting invited to it. It's just weekend warriors that all of a sudden have a weekday thing and we build it as kind of the hardest 96 seconds of your week, and these guys are coming and running till they're puking. And from there, we started to get a following, a great following of people that were following not only my journey, but specifically wanted to know all about Hill Sprints Club. There was chapters opening up in Calgary and Toronto, and then this carried on after I left Vancouver and moved to Calgary. We invited out reporters to say, people asking me saying, what is this? I was like, come run, bring your cleats, and meet us Wednesday, 2 o'clock, and getting news articles done on it. And again, when you do well in your sport, you show up specifically in speed skating, you show up in the other sports section of sports. And the people that read that are speed skating fans. And so in order to get new people and bring new people in, you kind of need to do other things to find yourself in life or wherever, in other parts of the paper where you can bring in new people and not keep hitting the same people that are already tracking it. So then we started we submitted Hill Sprints Club for a viral campaign that Okanagan Springs was running, and we won. And so we started to get sponsors that wanted to sponsor a single Hill Sprints Club, and then ended up selling out a whole season sponsorship where we had our water and beer and chips, everything taken care of, and they ended up being sponsors that are kind of still with me and supporting to today. But again, I'm not comfortable reaching out to consumer brands talking about my speed skating exploits, and at this point for a lot of this I hadn't even started yet. But this gave me something that they wanted, that they were reaching out to me, and more importantly, very consistent with my brand, that people that wanted to see how I was doing, you can come out and check it out and kind of run up the hill and see what type of training we're up to. The next one is snow shoveling. Again, another absolute fundraising classic. And I used to snow shovel as a kid, so beyond the financial aspect of it, it's good memories for me, so I loved it, and wanted to do it in Calgary, wanted to do it with my team. And again, a lot of this is trying to take some of these things where we sold the $20,000 in Team Provident t-shirts, but then my team went and they sold about 18,000. And again, those are people that said day one, I have no one to sell to. I'm from Saskatoon. I don't know anyone here. I don't go to UFC. Sure enough, they found plenty of people to sell it to. So trying to get them started at least, and get them going and starting to build their platform. So we thought, let's go shovel some walks. It'll be fun, and I think we'll make some money. And then I started thinking, we're going to have a problem. This isn't Vancouver where the world shuts down when there's a little bit of snow. If there's a ton of snow here, everyone still goes to work. So we're going to be banging on empty doors all day. So I wanted to kind of overcome that reach issue of how do I reach these people. So I thought we were sitting just after a team meeting at about 8 o'clock that night. We were going to do it the next morning. I was like, why don't we do it online and we can sell it over Twitter while we get people's attention. And then, we can go and do it. And I was like, well, that's going to result in us driving all over the city, filling out these kind of requests, which will be a total waste of time and super dangerous. So then we came up with Speedy Snow Angels. So the idea is that you sponsored a stranger's walk. So we put it up on our website and said, for $10, we'll go and shovel a stranger's walk, and we'll leave a note on the door that says, your walk was shoveled by the Oval Program Speed Skaters. Your walk was sponsored by Joe Smith, Calgary, Alberta. So we put it up, and we went back to a 30-minute team meeting, came back, we sold 45 walks. So we started to see that there was interest in this, that people were keen on it. A real estate agent bought a whole block, wanted his Twitter handle put on the notes. And so we said, how are we going to make this even better? So that's us kind of filling out these handwritten notes. And again, this prevented us from having to knock on doors. We just plowed through. And I was like, there's got to be another way we can do this to make it fun. So before that, we did send out the link to Breakfast Television. They announced it in the morning. It got to the point where we had to shut down the website. There was too many orders because we were going to lose daylight. We had to shovel all the walks. And we decided to do it in our speed suits. So this, again, you want to accomplish so many things when you do it. We had all of our contact information. We had our team's Twitter handle, so you could follow along with the team. Even if you didn't even see us, you just came home from work and your walk was shoveled. And see, the one on the top left is my place, which is how I guess I envisioned the day of these 4 steps, 8 feet of shoveling walks. By the end, we're doing estate homes that have 4-car garages. So we didn't plan out our geography very well. But the idea that someone would come home, have a very good experience, see speed skating, and if they link the two up and had a positive experience about speed skating, perfect. That's great. If they saw that we saw our Twitter handle, saw our website, checked out the site, that's fantastic. And again, all along the way, we raised a bunch of money, and the people that supported thanked the sponsors, some of the sponsors over Twitter. So they would say, hey, Cliff Stevenson, who's one of the sponsors, thanks for shoveling my walk. Cliff hadn't left his house that day. So, it's a true kind of win-win-win. We got the money, the house got their walk shoveled, and the sponsor felt really good that, they got recognition for doing a good deed for a neighbor. So the orders definitely, and again, this kind of shows the power of social media, went outside of Calgary, and we got orders from 14 countries. So we got an order from a family of 4 from Australia, basically saying, we never had to deal with snow, we love what you guys are doing, and we were going down to Utah for North American Championships. They're like, good luck in Utah, we bought 4 for the family. So we got messages like this, and again, these are people that their names keep popping up on the blog and on Twitter, and they send email messages, and I kind of go back through my Gmail to figure out where they originally came from, and sure enough, they'd bought a walk. So, and then here's just an example of the win-win-win. So the top left, thank you for the Snow Angel gift. There's no mention of us. It kind of success. I mean, that wasn't the true meaning, but if that was the offering, right? That you were sponsoring a walk. That we said, you can shovel a stranger's walk without leaving your house today. So that's what we kind of sold it on, and that's really how people responded to it. And so here's a couple. This probably isn't the right venue for it, so I can happily talk about it tomorrow. But I'm just going to quickly show. I got to talk to Dave. I got to make a champ up here. But a couple. I don't know if you guys have started to look at crowdfunding campaigns. The only thing I'll say on it is, again, my kind of adversity towards an outright donation. Leverage these tools that have kind of perks or the ability to reward certain levels of sponsorship or certain levels of donation. Certain levels of funding. Donations are not sustainable. Sponsorship is. So, and the idea of a simple thing of how to turn that around is someone gives you $20, $50, whatever it is, as a donation. Send them a thank you card, a postcard. Send them a subscription to the blog and say, thank you so much for supporting 2013, 2014 season. This is my schedule. Here's where you can follow me. So kind of that's the offer. I mean, that's kind of the benefit that they're getting is the ability to follow you on. And then when it comes time for the next year, you reach out to all of your 2013, 2014 sponsors and supporters. So you've built up this kind of catalog. They didn't know that they were kind of part of a more formal annual campaign, but that's a way to kind of bring people in and make them feel, oh, that's okay, sweet. I obviously like you and want to follow you, so I supported you, but I didn't even know how I could do it. So this is, you've laid it out for me to follow it. So these crowdfunding tools, again, as you can tell by the funnel diagram, it's hard to believe, but it is in some cases better to get $1 from 10,000 people than $10,000 from one person. You can actually do so much more with the former. And these tools allow you to kind of not only get some money in the door right away with very little overhead, no cost down, but the ability to kind of build up a database of people that want to help and people that want to help you. It's just not taking that relationship and that offering for granted and building something and building a kind of a two-way partnership. The other ones are StickerU, Hootsuite, and Harvest. Harvest I put up here simply because I have literally talked to the athletes that let a sponsorship fall through because they didn't know what an invoice was. So they didn't know what to send. I don't know if you guys have seen The Office where Jim gets told to send the sales report. He has no idea what to send, and he avoids it all day. And so it's the same thing. They don't want to send the wrong thing, so they send nothing. They don't want to send the sponsor be like, what is this? This is nothing. This is a receipt from Starbucks. This is not the invoice. And so Harvest is a dead simple tool that is free, free in the beginning, free for you to get started. If you're starting to pay for Harvest, you're doing well. You've got funding it. Great tool, great way to get started, great way for your bookkeeping. A lot of you guys, a lot of your expenses are tax deductible, so you should be keeping track of everything. Hootsuite is social media dashboard, just a great way to leverage Twitter, Facebook, Instagram from one housed account. Kind of one great benefit of Hootsuite that now the individual platforms are starting to launch is come for race day, I would send a link to follow results or a link to when I'm up and saying, hey, it's at 11 o'clock, it's I'm up in 30 minutes, I'm pair 39 in the outer. Those are all automated tweets, so I'm not sitting by my phone while I'm warming up. I've used Hootsuite to schedule those tweets and program and send them out, as well as to send out a few hours after my race a link to the results page. I'm not sitting on my phone trying to find the mobile link to the results page. So Hootsuite's a great tool for that, to kind of, again, those are key interaction engagement dates of when you're actually competing is also the key time that you should have your phone in your bag and be focused on bigger things. So use these tools that allow you to do that, or send a friend or a brother or a sister or your parents, send them the the login, and let them kind of live tweet your performance because people want to follow it. And then StickerU, I love StickerU. It's literally what it's stickers. So we have, if you guys are wheelchair basketball, skiing, a little bit of speed skating, not so much, but everyone has water bottles and your training logs. These stickers are unbelievable high quality stickers. So you put your company's logo or your sponsor's logo and you drag and drop it. It's an unbelievably simple form, and they're very high quality decals. I've put my like protein shake thing through the washer and dry a million times, not the washer and dry, the dishwasher a million times. The sticker does not come off or fade or anything. And it's a very simple way to, things like this are very expensive. And so things like kind of proper marketing collateral that you would get as you get bigger and bigger and the kind of checks get bigger. But in the beginning, things like getting your sponsor's logo on helmets, backpacks, bags, things like that, it's as simple as printing off a sheet and having it sent to you for $5, $4. So StickerU, great site for that. I could go on and on about a ton of sites, but I'll kind of leave that. Please don't hesitate to bug me. I love this stuff. So if anyone wants to talk about their personal stuff, their website, there's things I'm good at, the things that I don't know at all, that I'm happy to kind of point you to people that do know that stuff. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you guys for having me here. Thanks.
Just real quick. Is this, can we grab the mic on? Yeah, it's on.
Does anybody have any questions?
Just before, I'd like to get them on the microphone, just so we have them on the video. Can you turn the mic on? Check. Perfect. Does anybody have any questions? Mav?
Hey, I'm Maverick, beach volleyball player. You don't have to go into detail, but from what you showed us, it seems like most of your things are really successful. What's something you tried that wasn't successful?
So the thing on my YouTube page, the least engaged videos on my YouTube channel is me racing. So people have a hard time connecting with just the sport. And so I've had a hard time with that. So I started doing things like, again, like I said, I post a video of my latest race, and it's hard to kind of understand what it is, because in isolation, it doesn't compare to I'd rather watch a video of the most recent world record. So I started cutting it and doing progression videos and showing the same angle, but over 6 months, different segments, to at least provide some context. Trying to think of, on the fundraising side, I mean, I really genuinely believe that is the beauty of this. With effort, these things work, they work. And I've written probably 500 or 600 blogs, and probably like 10 did well, like people cared and went on. And so, and some of the ones that did well, I came home, kind of quickly hammered it out. It was kind of just typed it out, didn't think overly through like the common themes and things like that, and it just seemed to strike a chord with people, and it did really well. Other times I've sat down and like meticulously put stuff together. I've kept it as a draft for weeks, put it together and like push publish, and just watched it not move. Nobody resonate with it. So on the like the top side of that funnel, lots. Like you're doing stuff all the time. Some are hit and miss. On like the individual approach, I'm trying to think of anything's been not clearing, like not, and this has more been on kind of like the advisory side, is taking for granted, like, oh, speed skating Canada, well, that won't be a problem. Like they'll do this. We can use the oval. We can have the client come in, like the sponsor come in. We can do a learn to skate day. Like clear all that stuff. Sit down and talk to the key stakeholders, and like it's not as simple as if everyone's running around doing that. And I'm a little bit, I mean, obviously by doing this, I'm kind of a ready, shoot, aim type mentality a little bit. So sitting down, and you save yourself so much headache, and that really speaks back to the under promise, over deliver. Don't say you can do more. And again, I come from a lot of backgrounds where that's the opposite. You just say you can do anything. You say you can do absolutely everything and figure it out later. Getting sucked into Twitter wars is definitely something to avoid. You can not benefit from, also remembering athletes that like rip on Air Canada for a late flight. Like they support the sport. They don't do that. Like it's, you are not gonna get whatever benefit you think you're gonna get out of sending like a pissy tweet about something. You're not gonna get the benefit, and you will very likely get the negative. Something I left out of this, just because it's a huge section, is like there's obviously, I've showed you lots of benefits to social media, and the downsides, I genuinely don't believe are downsides to social media, other than the concept that a lot of people don't understand, that they're speaking to 10 million people, 100 million people. If you have 60 followers, it doesn't matter. If you say something that's offensive or to someone and they retweet it, all of a sudden, you got 10, 20,000 followers when you didn't want them. So some of the slides that I had was an example is a guy comes home from a job interview and posts, is at Cisco Systems, so it would be a great job coming out of university, and posts, just got offered from Cisco, I just have to weigh, the hefty paycheck with horrible work that I'll hate. And so someone from his work replied to it saying, oh, be sure to let your hiring manager know. Like the guy had no idea that he was talking to anybody. He was just ranting to his friends. Like you're not texting your buddies. Anything that's on there, and as soon as you put it, some blogger in his basement has screenshotted it and posted it to his blogs. It doesn't matter if you delete it. That would be a big thing to avoid, and I do still get caught up in it. Not the negative stuff, but Twitter wars, like Twitter battles. If there is something that's really driving you nuts, take the time to sit and write a blog post, which I've done, and usually by the end of it, I just push delete and be like, oh, well, that was a colossal waste of time. Like I don't care. So it's a therapeutic thing, and the combination of being angry and being quick online and on social media will burn you unbelievably badly. So as great as all this is, it just makes potential downfall for me even better, even greater. So some stupid tweet, something,
you just don't benefit from being negative, at least online. And as was touched on earlier, when you're doing your athlete reports, being negative, it's just, they're going to take offense to it as a form of being constructive and putting together like a thoughtful understanding that's saying, we understand this is in place, or understand this happened, here's how it looked or seemed or impacted me from my position. And that kind of helps to soften it. It's an extension from what you asked, but the key thing to remember is you cannot go wrong by trying. By trying a campaign, you cannot go wrong. You will benefit. Again, anything you can do to add to that top part of the funnel, do it. Give it a shot.
Eric?
Kevin, can you give us a little bit of the distinction of, so those first sponsorships that you had, the first sponsorships that you had, were you selling, look, I'm looking for support so that I can do this, and then, you've got 4-year contracts, place, you said, that was my base, I can go and make this commitment. What's the angle that you're selling now? You're selling a property, there's a commercial value for those sponsors in that. Can you distinguish that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So I sold in the beginning on basically committing to training full-time, moving out to Calgary, and giving this thing a shot. There is zero reason it's supposed to work, or you have no background. I have no clue how this is going to go. But I'm telling you, I was telling the kind of the sponsors and supporters, again, the initial sponsors and supporters will not be Nike. They'll be your friends, family, neighbor, someone that has said, I love this. Like, I want on board. I love the idea of kind of having my logo somewhere, anywhere. And it could be, like I said, a sticker on your laptop, whatever it is. That is an emotional decision. And so in the beginning, that was very much it. And having people come out to a dinner at the end of the year, giving them an update. Some of the sponsors wanted to literally just pick up the phone and call. So to give you an example of how one of these came about, one of the key guys from Hill Sprints Club, he messaged me saying, and he was like a weekend warrior that I met over Twitter. He followed the hashtag. He just loved it. He does boxing on the weekend, and he came out and he's like, oh, you got to talk to my brother. You got to talk to my brother. He would love to chat with you. So his brother and I Skyped. He's from Hong Kong. He runs a Hong Kong hedge fund company. And so we started talking. I told him what I was doing. He's like, I love it. Like, I would have loved to have done that. I'm 50 years old now and fat and just out of shape, and I would have loved to have made that decision at 25 and not 50. So he said, I want to come out and see you. So I was like, sweet, you come out anytime, we'll get you out to practice. And so he flew out from Hong Kong, and we went to practice, and it was lactic capacity training on ice, and I got absolutely dummied. So I couldn't stand, and I was like, wow, this is just a phenomenal performance. But it's exactly what I pitched. It's exactly, I was like, oh my God, I lost this. And he was like, that's exactly what I expected. Like, I thought I was going to come watch an old guy who's competing with people 10 years younger than him get smoked, but not quit, not give up, not whatever, and talk about it and tell me about, and that was the idea. So I was consistent with what I'd sold. So he's been there. And then to your point now, and this is something you need to be kind of cognizant of, I'm not getting endorsement deals. So there is an understanding that I had sponsors that kind of helped me out that said, we would love to train with you if we could, but we can't. So what can we do? What can we help? You need $3,000 skates. Let's get those. Now I'm at the point where I've made additional funds from things like speaking and do part-time consulting. So I basically have given a holiday this whole year to all my sponsors. So I haven't taken sponsorship money. So that's kind of again, holding up to the original end of the bargain is I'm not taking it as supplemental additional income. I've been able to cover it through other ways, so I don't really feel like that was the original agreement anymore. So they're on board, and if things change in the future, I would have no problem going back and saying, okay, we're back to where we were before. But again, it's just like this open and honest communication, and they just love it. And the thing is, if you're pitching being an Olympian, that's the point when they can't sponsor you. So why would I sell that? Not to mention, I have more than enough motivation on my own and more than enough pressure on myself. Right. I don't need dollars over my head dependent on results. Right. So that's a personal choice I've made, and you guys are in different boats, and will have different. It's a decision you need to make, and you need to feel comfortable with. And everyone will have different offerings, and I have different rationale and different sponsor benefits that I'm kind of upholding with different sponsors. The guy from Hong Kong, it's very personal. It's really me and him. Some of the other sponsors, it's their employees. They want to feel connected to this. I have a private equity company that owns a Mac. It's called the Mac Shack. It's a mac and cheese store. So I run a fundraiser through there where when I go back to Vancouver, do a little talk and bring everybody out, and we fill up the Mac Shack for a night. So these are all things that, and a big sponsor of ours that's now become a team sponsor is Kaylee's Irish Pub. So we continue to run events there. Like we might not have a huge offering, but our team and our sport is full of university students who like to go to Irish pubs. So we can direct traffic that way, and if that's the relationship to fund our team, and we need to be kind of pseudo party promoters, we'll do what we need to do to kind of make the deal work. Because again, selling as an Olympian, that's not what I'm comfortable with selling, and B, it's just not the offering. That's funded. Like that's kind of, there's all different avenues to go after for that type of funding. This is something a little bit different.
Guys, we got about 5 minutes, so a couple quick questions.
Kevin, Mike Smith, Wrestling. Just going back to your inverted pyramid or the funnel from fan to supporter to sponsor, the question is, are you subtle in your approach when you're making that transition from fan to supporter to sponsor, or is it more direct? Like, for example, if you like me, then tell a friend or so on. I know it came a little bit later in your presentation with the Provident t-shirt where people are around the world and they're promoting it, but on a different level, is it more subtle or is it more direct?
So that's a good question, and it's very direct. So when I want, again, being against kind of donations, when people are like, oh, like, what can I, like, how do I help? Or I'm having a fundraiser at a bar or whatever, and people want it, I'm like, honestly, subscribe to the blog, follow the blog, share it with your friends, share the page. That is amazing, and it's worth more than the $20 you thought you were gonna give me. That is value, and that's something that I can, if everybody did that here, I have something to go out and again, it's kind of trading off that initial money and people genuinely wanting to help, and the first thing they associate with is I can give you money, that's easy help. But in this case, they can be much more useful and much more helpful by sharing. And I honestly think people just don't know. So you remind them, like even in your blog posts, when you post, say, hey, did you like it? Ask a question at the end of the blog post to get people commenting. Tell them, did you like the content? Did you like the video? Did you hate it? But if you liked it, would really appreciate you sharing. Don't feel bad about that, and you'll start to see the kind of benefit of that. The other thing is ask, it's kind of contrary to what I just said, but ask privately, thank publicly. So if you do post a blog post, let's say I do a blog post of my talk here, I'm gonna send it to a few people, send it to Dave, send it to Jasmine, say, hey, here's the blog post of my weekend. Would be amazing if you could share it. If not, no worries. If I do that 2-3 times the same person, it kind of goes flat each time. Just like knock them off your list that either they're not into it or not doing it. But more importantly, the idea is that you're not picking them randomly. You're picking them because there's some connection. They're in the right sport. You genuinely believe their audience would benefit from seeing this content. So ask them. Send them the exact link. If you ask someone to retweet something, send them the tweet and say, click on this and push retweet. Not, hey, check out my feed and retweet one of it's like the last third, or it's the third one. Like make it brain dead simple, and people will be so surprised that was helpful. They'll be like, yeah, no problem, I'm happy to retweet that. They didn't know that mattered. So yes, outright ask. Don't outright post on your, don't send an @ message to 15 people on your Twitter feed saying, hey, can you retweet this? Hey, can you retweet this? Hey, you got a quick unfollow. And again, that's the part where you realize that the golf cart might be broken because you just lost 35 followers because they tuned you out. But sending direct messages saying, hey, I think this is super relevant, would love a comment, or if not, a share. And with the t-shirts, when I ask people, hey, for whatever reason, if you can't, no worries. If you can't buy a t-shirt, it'd be great if you could share it instead. Most people do both.
Last question, anybody?
Can you distinguish donation from sponsor?
Yeah. So donate, and again, it's more donation and fundraising too, because I am an advocate of crowdfunding and things like that, and having silent auctions and having parties and finding ways to add value. It's just simply not taking money for nothing, not taking money and no recognition. It can literally be putting their name on the website, thanking them over Twitter, having some sort of program up in where, you know, there's some sort of benefit. There's a defined benefit. So what I encourage you guys all to do on this topic, I guess to quickly answer it, is sponsorship would be, you know, part of a program. There's part of a formal offering. So what I encourage you guys to do is write down everything you would do. If I was to give you $10, what would you do? Like, what would you do for me? If I was to give you $100, well, so maybe I'd thank you in a tweet. I'd send you a personal postcard. I'd send you a postcard from the road. If I send you $500, I'd put your logo on my website or whatever it is. So $1,000, and then $10,000, I'd put your logo on my national suit. I would have your jacket on. I would do a talk at your company's annual sales conference. I would allow you use of image. You can run an ad with me, or you could use me on your existing social media platforms. Write out that list, and it should be exhaustive. From literally someone that gives you $1 to what you're only willing to give up once. And from there, you organize them by this, like the thing at the bottom is like, I would do that 10,000 times. I would, no problem. And the thing at the top is kind of your more coveted. So again, this is like your store. You're starting to reassemble things and put, you know, higher price things. Then you build out your categories. And the classic kind of way to differentiate sponsorship groups is bronze, silver, gold. I encourage you to be, I fell for this too, but I just encourage you to be more creative. It's a good place to start. Some sponsors will see red when they see bronze, silver, or gold. They've seen it 100,000 times. And then before that, put fan or follower, supporter, whatever it is. And you literally, I'm sorry for a poor, you've got your list of things, and then your categories. So, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, that's your bronze, silver, gold. And literally check marks of what you get. So if you give me 1,000, you get a tweet mention, you get a follow, you get an invite to come out and watch me practice, watch me race. 500, you get a little bit more, you get your logo on my t-shirt, and then all the way down, it's, I'll take you down the ski hill, or I'll have you out to practice, you can suit up, your logo's on my national team suit, and it's just a very simple grid. And I encourage you to group things together. So one is kind of social media support. So you're willing to retweet relevant tweets from their corporate accounts. Use of image is a big one. Available for corporate engagements. I highly encourage you to put a number to that. Like 1 or 2 or 3, not 15. You don't want it kind of interfering. And then, when you're doing any media, you're in their gear. You've got their logo. So you just need to sit down and think of this list. And there's no wrong answers. Again, it goes back to the pricing. What are you going to do for kind of a little bit, and what do we do for more? And then that gives you that nice, simple framework to put in front of any company. And nowhere along that line is there donation, because the first one doesn't say $20 with nothing. There's something. They're getting something. So that's the distinction, I think. And I think for crowdsourcing, where a lot of athletes have kind of hurt themselves, not necessarily hurt themselves, but kind of missed the boat, is they've launched a crowdfunding. They went on Fundraiser. They went on Indiegogo, and they launched a site, and they literally just said, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm training for this season. This is my costs. Have at it. Good luck. Send me however much you want. Like, you don't want to be on the other side of that. You want something. Again, we're not curing cancer. We're doing an amazing thing. We're doing, you get to do your sport and do what you love. So you want to be able to offer. There's tons of value to offer. I also add going to the sponsor's kids' school. That one has had a great response.
Kevin's earned his right to be a VIP member in the hospitality tournament. Eric's making his way up. I have one last 30-second personal question.
Yeah.
How did you sell your girlfriend on this?
So believe it or not,
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
My wife has an easy comparison. Me banking and me doing this. And the thing is, banking was honestly just as much time, just as much commitment is similar between the two. Banking was my thing. She couldn't come and help me at work. She just saw me getting smoked. And it's very hard. It's very hard to watch someone do that. And then this is our thing, as she is helping. We're out on the bike. We're committed. We've got joint finances. She's moved out to Calgary. She is a massive, massive supporter of this. And it's, again, that's kind of the easiest way to know that I've, definitely never regret my decision. And definitely, I wouldn't change a thing. So a little more than 30 seconds.
Kevin, that was awesome. I think probably you're speaking to a room of people where I wouldn't be surprised if every single person in this room has, put together that gold, silver, bronze, or tried these different things. And I think I remember being in a basement, in Montreal, living on $500 a month, spending $50 for a photocopied color package that I was sending back to Calgary. But the thing that I think you hit on that resonates most is like the honesty of what you're selling, right,
absolutely,
front and center. Like, here's what it is. It's not future Olympic. It's front and center. It's here's what it is, and I think that's resonates. Like, I think there's a lot in that everyone can take away. So, absolutely awesome. We've got a small gift for you. Really appreciate. You're not off the hook. You're going to get lots of questions throughout the weekend. So I should maybe hold on to this until Sunday. But really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Great.
Yeah, awesome. Great.
And real quick, Mike and Lori, we got gifts for you guys. We really appreciate you leading the orientation this evening. So here you go. Mike's already got a VIP pass, so Lori, you get the second VIP pass, okay? Coveted VIP pass.
Thank you.
So guys, hospitality suite upstairs, where we're having dinner there. You guys can go up to your hotel room. We'd love to see everyone there tonight. It's a great way to mingle, meet everybody.